Imagine living in a country where your voice is silenced, your rights are ignored, and justice feels out of reach. Now imagine that there is an organization fighting tirelessly to ensure that every individual in America is treated fairly and equal. That is the mission of the American Civil Liberties Union. From protecting freedom of speech to advocating for equal rights, the ACLU has made a monumental impact on preserving democracy and protecting the constitutional rights of all Americans. Their work directly impacts countless individuals and ensures that justice is accessible to everyone. I've researched the ACLU extensively, learning their history, mission, and impact. Additionally, I've reviewed testimonials from individuals whose lives have been positively impacted by their efforts. Today, I will share 3 reasons why the ACLU deserves your support. They fight tirelessly to protect civil liberties for marginalized communities. They tackle critical issues that affect all Americans. Their transparency and their efficiency make them a trustworthy organization to support. Let's start by examining their fight for marginalized communities. They defend the right of minorities, immigrants, and the LGBTQ plus community through legal action and policy reform. In 2018, the ACLU successfully challenged the Trump administration's family separation policy at the US Mexico border, reuniting thousands of families. See American Civil Liberties Union 2018. The ACLU also ensures that marginalized communities have a voice in shaping laws and policies that affect them. They did this by advocating for voting rights, by challenging restrictive voter ID laws that disproportionately impacted people of color. That's Brennan Center for Justice 2020. Beyond marginalized communities, the ACLU also tackles issues that affect every American. The second reason why you should donate to the ACLU is because they address critical issues that impact all Americans. Protecting freedoms of speech and press is central to their mission. An example of this is the ACLU filed a class action lawsuit against the city of Minneapolis, the Minnesota State Patrol, and other officials on behalf of the journalists who were attacked while covering protests over the killing of George Floyd, ensuring that freedom of press remains protected. It's the American Civil Liberties Union 2020. They also safeguard policy rights in an increasingly digital world. One example is they filed lawsuits to prevent mass government surveillance, protecting Americans' rights to privacy under the Fourth Amendment and authority granted by Section 215 of the Patriot Act, deeming it illegal. It's the Electronic Frontier Foundation 2021. Now that we've seen the scope of the ACLU's work against the large and corporate, let's also talk about the grassroots level they work with to create change. The third reason why you should donate to the ACLU makes a tangible positive impact on local communities across the nation. The ACLU doesn't just work on high-profile national cases. They also address local issues that directly affect everyday Americans. In Mississippi, the ACLU filed lawsuits to improve prison conditions at the notorious Parchman Prison, where inhuman treatment and neglect led to the deaths of multiple inmates. Their advocacy led to significant reforms, including reduced overcrowding and increased oversight. It's the American Civil Liberties Union 2020. They partnered with local organizations to drive change from the ground up. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the ACLU worked with community groups to advocate for the release of medically vulnerable individuals from jails and prisons, preventing unnecessary suffering and protecting public health. It's the American Civil Liberties Union 2021. By addressing both national and local injustices, the ACLU ensures that their work benefits people at every level of society, proving that their donations have a broad and meaningful reach. Some people might argue that donating to a large establishment organized like the ACLU feels impersonal or insignificant. They believe that individuals' contributions won't make a meaningful difference when added to the millions. The organization already receives others might feel skeptical about whether their donation directly impacts on the causes they care about most. While it's true that the ACLU is a large organization, the size is what allows them to take on some of the nation's most pressing and complex legal battles and cases that smaller organizations may not have the resources to pursue. What many don't realize is that the ACLU's success is built in collective action, the contributions of thousands of individuals like you. For example, even the modest donations help fund legal teams, expert witnesses, and public education, campaigns on issues such as voting rights, criminal justice reform, and reproductive freedom. Another thing is that Elon Musk tweeted the other day on the 4th about defunding the ACLU, which is very funny because the ACLU is not funded by the government. They're funded by the people, so there's nothing to defund. And he's wanting to defund it because he doesn't like some of the class action lawsuits that they are supporting and working on. But the ACLU prioritizes transparency, ensuring donors they know exactly where their money is spent. Over 88% of their funds go directly towards programs and services, and their detailed annual reports outline the outcomes of key campaigns. Every single dollar matters because the issues of the ACLU tackles, like systematic racism, government surveillance, and attacks on free speech, and challenges that require sustained efforts and resources. That's Charity Navigator 2023. When combined with others, your contribution is not just impactful, it's essential in ensuring the fight continues. Finally, consider this. When you donate to the ACLU, you're not just giving money, you're taking a stand. Your contribution stands for a powerful message that you care about civil liberties and belief in the justice for all. No donation is too small when it's part of a broader movement to protect the rights and freedoms. Now that you understand that the ACLU's impact and how donations are utilized, let's go back over why your contributions matter. The ACLU protects civil liberties for marginalized communities, tackles and ensures issues that affect all Americans, and ensures transparency on how your contribution is used. Imagine how different the world would be without the ACLU, safeguarding the rights and freedoms that we often take for granted. You can make a difference, support the ACLU today, and help create a fairer, freer society for all. Together, we can ensure that justice is not for the ideal, but it's actually a reality. Thank you.
Where do we donate?
Go online, aclu.com.